Hey guys, this is Allison from Allykatkreations. How are you? I got a really exciting and very fun topic today. It's a movie. Dark City. I fell in love with that movie. It's from 1998, and I'll go into it a little bit more in a second. But before I do, please hit that like button. That helps me reach more people. Subscribe to my channel if you haven't done so already, and share. Also, if any of my work has sparked an epiphany, a light bulb, a mic drop, a new book to read, please consider helping and supporting my work. By the end of the month, I am going to be in the dark unless I get some sort of assistance. I am trying many avenues and have not been successful. And I'm packing my house up in hopes that I can sell some more stuff to make some bills. But I need help. So please, if you have it within you to help me, I'd be very appreciative. And much gratitude to those who already have. So, Dark City. Okay, I have pictures, by the way. I'm going to read what WikiLeaks had to say about it and another article written by somebody who's in the esoteric world. This movie popped into my head because I was thinking about the Montauk chair. I was thinking about telekinesis. I was thinking about how things are morphed and the simulation that we are living in. It's a wild movie, and it brings up a lot of these topics. A lot. Like a lot. So if you remember, it wasn't, the movie world did not like this movie. This is the cover. I was trying to find my VHS tape. Those still exist. I have a whole bunch of them. But this is the main character, Mr. John Murdoch. And we come up with what we want to look like Cenobites, right? They look like Pinhead and Cenobites, but they're not. They're not from hell. They're a hive mind. And they're not from this planet. Their world was dying out. Oh, what a story that we all know about from the Greys. And their population was dwindling. And where did they end up? Underground, under a city. Oh, where did we hear this? What paradigm are we living in? Predictive programming much? I think so. Oh, there's the trip seat or the Montauk chair. But this is a little different because in the movie, they extract people's memories and they inject memories. I'm going to go into the whole overlay. I just want to show some pictures and we'll go back to them. Very Brooklyn-esque. And this is the last one I'll leave on before I go back to pictures. Oh, look at my friend Neo. Whoa. This movie is reminiscent of The Matrix. It is really a mind of a movie. Why? because it encapsulates a lot of what's going on with the extraterrestrial hive mind. But not only that, it's the experiments that they've been doing on mankind, the social experiments that's been happening. This, in essence, is just mind-blowing. So I'm going to read the wiki description of the movie, so maybe some of you might remember it. Dark City is a 1998 Australian-American neo-noir science film. Fiction, that is, what I don't know about that. Directed by Alex Proyas and starring Rufus Sewell, Kiefer Sutherland, Jennifer Connelly, Richard O'Brien, and William Hurt. The screenplay was written by Proyas, Lem Dobbs, and David S. Goyer. Sewell plays John Murdoch, an amnesiac man who finds himself suspected of murder. Murdoch attempts to discover his true identity and clear his name while on the run from the police and a mysterious group known as the Strangers. The Strangers. Those are who those guys are. And, it's just going through all the, director nonsense. But some critics have noted its similarities to an influence on the Matrix series, whose first installment came out a year later. The film is widely considered a sci-fi cult classic. So John Murdoch awakens in a hotel bathtub, suffering from amnesia. He receives a phone call from Dr. Schwiber, who urges him to flee the hotel to evade a group of men who are after him. In the room, Murdoch discovers the corpse of a ritualistic murder woman, along with a bloody knife. He flees the scene just as the group of pale men in trench coats, later identified as the Strangers, arrive. Okay, number one. Who's the men in black? What race are they? Are they under hive mind? Yes. Are they reptilian and gray mixed? Absolutely. Okay, so here we go. We have now the Strangers that look like Cenobites, look like Pinhead, but it isn't. But they also identify as the men in black, who are hive mind, who are Draco and Gray hybrids with an agenda, who came down from society, from their little dying society. Please help me. We don't have any more DNA. Can we use some of yours? Oh, sure. Let's make the Granada Treaty and let's freaking abduct humans and let's study their DNA and let's fuck with them. So here we go again. This is way deeper than all the people that wrote about this, because I'm taking it to the alien agenda right now. Mind you, ritualistic murder. So now we also have a satanic ritual on our hands. And this is how the movie opens up. And I'll get into how he has amnesia, like why he has amnesia. It's just effing insane how already there are parallels to this movie that are in-depth and more in-depth than what other people have written. But it's fascinating. So that's like the first component of this. Like, oh shit, there's a strange guy that called my hotel room. I don't remember and recall coming here. And now all of a sudden there's some dead chick killed, really fucked up. And I gotta run. So following clues, Murdoch learns his own name and finds out he has a wife named Emma. Police Inspector Frank Bumstead also wants Murdoch as a suspect in a series of murders committed around the city, though he cannot remember killing anybody. Pursued by the strangers, Murdoch discovers that he has psychokinesis, the ability to alter reality at will, which the strangers also possess and refer to as tuning. He manages to use these powers to escape them. So a big emphasis in the movie is this humongous effing clock. Huge. And in the movie, John, you could see the vibrating reverberations of vibrations like coming out of his head, and like things start distorting. Here again is another predictive program, because that is exactly in essence, we're not going to have those abilities in 4D, and we're most likely not having those in that strength in 5D, but later on we'll have that. Like altering forms and matter. People have telekinesis that can bend metal and do stuff. But I'm jumping ahead because this movie's super effing loaded. It's super loaded. And yes, this is how the reptilians are able to shapeshift. This is how the Greys and all the spaceships upstairs, they can hide themselves because they can materialize and dematerialize, and they can do it by a thought in their brain. And if anybody's been watching my Kybalion episodes, it is called The All, because everything's done mentally in your mind. Yeah. So this guy has the stranger's abilities, and they don't freaking like that. Not one bit. But then again, if you're looking at the SSP, they chose children who had abilities, psychic abilities, whether they were a medium or somebody that was clairvoyant, somebody was an empath, but had more than, like, could have foresight seeing. And then they took them and they used them in programs. And these are not the good people. These are the bad people. Unrelated to the movie, though, I had a download yesterday, and it was basically stating, and I did an oracle reading with a really awesome person. And like, after talking and processing this like profound conversation that I had, I was basically kind of told that I've been invisible for protection. That a lot of my abilities and a lot of what I'm capable of has been kind of suppressed to keep me out of sight, out of mind from the evil things. Fun. So getting back to the article, Murdoch explores the anachronistic city. Yeah, it's perpetual nighttime in this movie. There's no daytime. So where no one sees to notice the perpetual nighttime, at midnight, he watches as everyone except himself falls asleep, as the strangers physically rearrange the city, as well as change people's identities and memories. Murdoch learns that he came from a coastal town called Shell Beach, a town familiar to everyone, though no one knows how to get there. And all of his attempts to do so are unsuccessful for varying reasons. Meanwhile, the strangers inject one of their men, Mr. Hand, with memories intended for Murdoch in an attempt to predict his movements and track him down. Inspector Bumstead eventually catches Murdoch, acknowledging that Murdoch is most likely innocent, and by then has his own misgivings about the nature of the city. They confront Schreiber, who explains that the strangers are extraterrestrials who uses corpses as their hosts. Having a hive mind, the strangers are experimenting with humans to analyze their individuality, hoping that some insight might be revealed that will help their own race survive. Well, hi, all three-letter agencies and some of our governments. My Labs, the Umbrella Corporation, iClone, as this movie was like not receptive very well in society in 1998, boy did they drop a lot of fucking bombs. Put the two dots together. You have an alien race, like the shit's in their in the head, right? So it's like a drone. It's like Vril, but they're not making it Vril. It looks like an octopus kind of jellyfish kind of looking thing. Parasite. Vril. And those of you who watched my Gray series saw that video about the grill going in the eye. Yeah, so here we have a race who came down using their psychokinesis. Everybody falls asleep. They're like on the train, at work, like they're pouring coffee and it's just done. And then they go around to certain people and they inject different memories and they change their clothes and they change where they're positioned. And then when they wake up, they're a whole new person and a whole new set of memories. And sometimes they're really rich, sometimes they're really poor. Sometimes they actually go from like 1920s looking era and then they start modernizing it through the movie where buildings start like rising and things start shifting and things get more modern. Well, what have they been doing here? I mean, we are not more than 200 years ago with horse and buggy and plain Jane tools. And now all of a sudden, time warps happen and we have computers where when I was 16, the first cell phone came out and all you could play, I have them. I could play Snake. I had beepers. And now all of a sudden you have a computer in your fucking hand and it's Dick Tracy. Hello? I don't really like technology. So everything is very archaic with me. There's reasons for that. But my goodness, like, my goodness. Did I jump around? I totally did. Where was I? Okay. The scientist Schreiber reveals that Murdoch is an anomaly who inadvertently awoke when Schreiber was in the middle of imprinting his latest identity as a murderer. The three embark to find Shell Beach, but it exists only as a poster on a wall at the edge of the city. Frustrated, Murdoch and Bumstead break through the wall, revealing outer space. The men are confronted by the strangers, including Mr. Hand, who holds Emma hostage. In the ensuing fight, Bumstead and one of the strangers fall through the hole in space, revealing the city as a deep space habitat surrounded by a force field. The idyllic want to look like a firmament. So in the movie, everything looks really realistic. Everybody's going about their day, and well, not day, it's always night, but everybody's on the train, everything is going right. And they're just how do you get to, and no one knows how to get to this beach. Finally gets to the end. I'll show you the picture. Fucking nothing. And it looks like, again, there's a lot of Hellraiser imagery in this movie, a lot. Like, they look like Pinhead. They look like Cenobites. They look like demons. But then again, demons are also parasitic and they latch on to people. So there we go again. Paralleling and joining together. It looks like in Hellraiser, when the box unfolds and it's a labyrinth of just patterns of buildings and structures, and it's in a cube. And that's exactly what you see toward the end of the movie. The Matrix. Or the Truman Show. Can you imagine how all these movies start feeding off to each other and they bleed? They're different concepts, they're different genres, and they all start bleeding into each other, like horror, sci-fi, and odd fiction. I'm going to call Truman Show odd fiction. It's not funny because it is most likely 85% the truth. Predictive programming. They have to tell you, because then it's complied and sent. The strangers bring Murdoch to their home beneath the city and force Schreiber to imprint Murdoch with their collective memory, believing Murdoch to be the culmination of their experiments. Schreiber betrays them by instead inserting false memories in Murdoch, which artificially reestablish his childhood as years spent training and honing his tuning skills and learning about the strangers and their machines. Murdoch awakens, fully realizing his skills. He frees himself and battles with the strangers, defeating their leader, Mr. Book, in a psychokinetic fight above the city. So again, in the movie, it is portrayed that you see ripples of energy coming from their minds, and like things go banana nuts. It's pretty cool. It's like the Matrix kind of style-esque without all the CGI fun. After learning from Schreiber that Emma has been re-imprinted and cannot be restored, Murdoch exercises his newfound powers, amplified by the stranger's machine, to create an actual shell beach by flooding the area within the force field with water and forming mountains and beaches. On his way to Shell Beach, Murdoch encounters a dying Mr. Hand and informs him that they have been searching in the wrong place, the mind, to understand humanity. Murdoch rotates the habit toward the star it had been turned away from, and the city experiences sunlight for the first time. What? Here's where this gets interesting, mind you. He stands at like this dock. And then all of a sudden, all this water pours in. And then he starts using his mind to manifest matter, mountains, sand. So in the spiritual community, and a lot of other communities, not just spiritual, the esoteric idea of using your mind, that it all stems in your mind, that everything in your reality is manifested from your mind. Although I do agree with that wholeheartedly to an extent, we still have prearranged arrangements with the guy, the girl, the all. And if that were to be so, even though we've been dumbed down and our abilities, whatever, have been like axed a shit ton, but even if the highest of minds who have the abilities of psychokinetics and telekinesis and all this, as a collective, we should be starting to think about ushering in the new plane of existence that we all will be at some point in time habitating. The movie is like alluding to this, that one person is bringing in beauty and bringing in the light that was missing, because all these people were sleeping, and that's not their fault, because they weren't knowing of any other paradigm but the one that they've been living in. And then they all been injected with different memories and changed and imprinted with different memories. Same idea as to where we are right now in our paradigm. We have a lot of people now starting to just wake up to the narrative that's been imprinted and implanted in our minds about the politics, about the actual agenda, about killing us, poisoning us, keeping us down, keeping us in the obey control matrix. Can't critically think. And there's a lot of satanic components to this as well, because you got to look at the fact that they're trying to make you androgynous and they're trying to make you desexualized. So you're not populating the planet. They're trying to stop two things. They're trying to see how far you're going to like jump on this train to obey. But they're also stopping a program which a lot of people don't really associate this topic with, and that's the Envoy program that the Starseeds, myself, and millions of others have signed up for. And that is to be incarnate in a human body, live a human experience for soul growth, but inevitably raise the vibration of the planet so that we are able to shift and ascend and get out of the loop matrix that we've been stuck in for 75,000 years, probably more than that. If we're on cycle 6 of Earth, we need to freaking go. we've been stuck here. And the machine, you can take that machine that they use to tune and to change everything as the soul recycling machine on the moon that once was there. Now, from many different sources, not there anymore. So this movie is way more in depth, and I'm going to read another article. I just wanted to give you the overtone and overlay of what the basis of this movie is, and get another spin on it from somebody who's very read into esoteric literature and point some stuff out. But like, I just need to inject the idea that this movie is everything that's going on right now. There's layers of it. It's multi-layered with so many things. You know, on a metaphysical scale, we have radio waves, we have gamma, beta, theta waves whizzing through our atmosphere, the ether right now, going through our minds. When you're watching television, they're imprinting frequency into your mind. When you go to a store and you're looking at your phone and you mention that you need nail polish, just I'm being modest about it, okay? And then all of a sudden, all the nail polish ads start popping up on your phone. How? Why? What? Who's listening to me? Oh, you know, I don't care. Get a lot of that too when I point it out. Well, you know what? Maybe I'm into some sassy, kinky shit. And maybe I want my privacy because no one really should know about something that's deep embedded in my psyche that I'd like to have fun with in my own mind. But why? No, there's nothing to be ashamed of. And no, I don't have any of that stuff. I'm just saying there are people in this world who have some crazy shit that goes on in their mind. And sometimes they project it. And then you find ads on your phone that you're crazy or you're into some crazy shit, which kudos to you. I'm not knocking it. You know, we're all individual. We all have self-discovery. We're human. We, you know, YOLO. You know, YOLO. We're consciously aware right now for a reason. YOLO. But seriously, they're listening to you. They watch you. They do everything off your television, your phone, your computer, everything. And again, under the consent of fear tactics and people just doing what they feel like under an emergency, they're going to sign some freaking documents that you strip your rights away, or they hide it in a packet this big, 7 million freaking pages later in this little small print. It's taking your rights away. Or they're adding guillotines to a health booklet. Yeah, guillotines under healthcare. Oh, can you care? You don't believe me? Go look it up. So I'm gonna finish this. I have so much more to say. Again, the sunlight for the first time. And then it's like, okay, so what happens if we go through the aqueous matrix and now all of a sudden we're actually seeing our real crystalline sun for the first time? I mean, what? So, okay, he opens a door leading out of the city, like the Truman Show. I'm just inserting that, and steps out to view the sunrise. Beyond him is a pier where he finds the woman he knew as Emma, now with new memories and a new identity as Anna. Murdoch reintroduces himself as they walk to Shell Beach, beginning their relationship anew. Like, oh my goodness. My goodness. I mean, if I can have a fantastical relationship like that. But here's a twist on that one too. Okay? Here's a twist on that shit too. When we reincarnate, we have the veil of forgetting. We forget our paradigm. We're given everything, new people. Well, they're not really new, they're just new bodies. So in essence, all my parents, my immediate families, my soul family, we all arranged to give each other different roles to do and give to each other. So I'm the black sheep. I'm supposed to wake up my family to everything outside of the paradigm box because I came with most of my memories from past lives. And again, I've lived a whole hell of a lot of them. I was always the test for everybody. And I still am. Then you have, in my opinion, okay, your soul tribe, which is the karmic people that are supposed to come into your life at some point. Again, sometimes you just miss and you never meet. But soulmates, if the timelines don't shift, most people find more than 4 to 5 soulmates. And soulmates don't need to be somebody that you marry. It could be a friend. It could be, but it's somebody that has a really big, important part in your life. And when they play their part, they usually leave, and some people stay and then they get married and whatever. So again, she got imprinted a new memory and a new persona and a whole new identity. It's like being reincarnated and forgetting everything that was once lived. And now he's taking an opportunity to reignite that, but we have the same thing in this life. I went out with somebody that I know I had multiple past lives with. This life, he and I played, I'm the empath and he was a narcissist. The worst breakup of my entire existence. It was devastating, but it was one of my biggest lessons I could have ever had, and he put me on my path. Even though now it's collapsed. But yeah, just take that concept that they're shifting everybody and playing everybody. We do the same thing. We all have different tribes. We all have different soul groups, soul tribes, and then the greater picture, and everybody has their own little sections and all little things. And sometimes we're scattered. Starseeds are very scattered, but a lot of us know each other, but in different lifetimes, and then in different star galaxies, and then different this and different that. And then at some point, some of us do meet in real life, others don't. But the grand scheme of it is, you never know when you're going to meet and ignite a spark again. So I'm hoping that happens for me this lifetime. Very interesting concepts. I'm trying to bring this out because this is like, no one's really touched this movie in this way. There's some articles about it, but no one's really done a video on it. And for purposes that I want to post it and not get kicked off for copyright infringement stuff, I'm talking about it. I would love to show some of these scenes, but then I'm going, like my books that I do read, I want to encourage you to watch it, just like you should be reading the books for yourself, but it's fantastic. So I'm going to read from another article because this one goes into a lot of Allison language, I call it, for my own self. And it really like sparked my interest. Did I not? Sorry guys, I'm trying to find the dude who wrote this. I'll leave the links in the I don't want to read something without citing it first, but I don't know where the hell I put it. So I'll find it. Theologian Gerard Lachlan interprets Dark City as a retelling of Plato's allegory of the cave. Yes, for Lachlan, the city dwellers are prisoners who do not realize they are in prison. John Murdoch's escape from the prison parallels the escape from the cave in the allegory. He is assisted by Dr. Schreiber, who explains the city's mechanism as Socrates explains to Glaucon how the shadows in the cave are cast. Murdoch, however, becomes more than Glaucon. Lachlan writes, he is a Glaucon who comes to realize that Socrates' tale of an upper, more real world is itself a shadow, a forgery. Murdoch defeats the strangers who control the inhabitants and remakes the world based on childhood memories, which were themselves illusions arranged by the strangers. Lachlan writes of the lack of background, the origin of the city is offstage, unknown and unknowable. Murdoch now casts new shadows for the city inhabitants who must trust his judgment. Unlike Plato, Murdoch is disabused of any hope of out and outside and becomes the demiurge for the cave, the only environment he knows. Whoa, that's deep. That's deep. So what happens when we find out about our simulation? Many of us are aware of it. I'm trying to show that also in the World of Warcraft series that I'm working on. They have to tell you. And they're telling you through different devices because some people are not movie buffs, they're video game buffs. Hello. Come on, people. Hello. The Matrix is a documentary. The Truman Show is a documentary. This movie, for all counts and purposes, is also, for me, a documentary. I gotta tell you, it's a part of their karma. The city in Dark City is described by Higley as a murky, nightmarish German expressionist film, noir, depicted of urban repression and mechanism. It's like steampunk. The city has a World War II dreariness reminiscent of Edward Hopper's works and has details from different areas and architectures that are changed by the strangers. Buildings collapse as others emerge and battle with one another at the end. The round window in Dark City is concave like a fishbowl. The firmament and the deceiver NASA, the fishbowl effect, and is frequently seen element throughout the city. The inhabitants do not live at the top of the city. The main characters' homes are dwarfed by the rocklage of buildings. The film also contains motifs from Greek mythology in which gods manipulate humans in a higher agenda. Proyas says, I do like Greek mythology and have read a little of it, so maybe some of it has crept into the work, though I don't completely agree with the point of view. Yeah. Fishbowl? Okay. The world is not round, flat. It's toroidal. It's multidimensional. It's sacred geometry. But in perception-wise, in a metaphysical sense, the plane that we exist in third density, third dimension, when you're standing on outside, it's flat. That doesn't mean the encompassing all around us is flat. It's the plane of existence that we're on is flat. But it's multidimensional. And we also have a multiverse. And there's dimensions and pocket bubbles of space that are in between all of it. There's a lot of quantum physics and a lot of quantum entanglement that people are mapping, and they have been doing this for a while. I watch those lectures. As crazy, sometimes I don't understand the mathematical components. I understand it conceptually. Like, I visualize everything, and I could see that. Fishbowl. Fishbowl lens, NASA? Fishbowl lens. Okay, that was from allmovie.com. This one is jaysanalysis.com. So this is from Jay Dreyer. This is what I was trying to reference to. That was from another source. Oopsie. I hate to harp on the same old thing, but the same old things always manifest in films and deserves to be harped on. Often what is considered to be groundbreaking and avant-garde is really just the same old Gnostic themes repackaged with different dressing. It seems that there is actually a lack of creativity when it comes to matters of Hollywood. The Knowing was also reviewed here. Alex Proyas' film, but Dark City deserves a review as well, in my estimation, since it is particularly interesting in this regard. I guess. Dark City presents a dream world wherein a group of alien-like archons, or angelic rulers, demons, known as the Strangers, control manufactured city by tuning it every night, meaning the city is recreated and its rat-like inhabitants are implanted with new memories. They are able to conform physical reality by will alone, the tuning. And one of their subjects, John Murdoch, eventually obtains this ability. Immediately, we realize the basic theory of magic at work, which is the act of conforming reality to your will. However, the Strangers do it by telekinesis, and eventually so does John Murdoch. Dark City, we discover, has perpetually been in a state of darkness. It's always night, and no one can recall when it was daytime. So we have the Gnostic theme of demiurges who have entrapped a world in base darkness, where they lack their true God powers. Ta-da! We see in the beginning of a movie theater where films are playing named The Evil at Nightmare, cluing us into the fact that we are watching a movie that is essentially a nightmare. We see a hotel in which John Murdoch, the protagonist, awakes nude in a bathtub, apparently being framed for a murder. However, the night is different, as it is Murdoch's awakening. And from this point on, as he chased by the Strangers, Murdoch is able to tune, but this power is not yet under his control. A cop is put on the case, Detective Bumstead, who picks up where a former cop had been working, who went mad. His madness turned out to be a form of intense paranoia linked to a realization that all their reality was an illusion, and that they were the experiment of Gnostic demons. I tried getting a picture of the cops' like delusional paranoia room. Can't find it. But if I do, I'm gonna put it somewhere in the video. So the guy looks like he's in a rubber room and there's freaking swirlies everywhere. Like, it's intense. But many of us, I've been awakened to not everything, but my awakening was when I was a child to my abilities and to the ET agendas. Later on, I started picking up on the political stuff like in like junior high and high school, but it really didn't hit me until the brick wall really did hit me. And that was like 6 years ago. And I had to hide it because of what I do, where I worked. I don't have to hide anymore. But realistically, it can make one go crazy because you seem like you feel like you're the only person who's awake and aware of the agenda that's going on and taking place. And you learn more and more and more, and more people start awakening and more people start having these light bulb moments. Some people go crazy. I wish none of that on anybody, but it's batshit crazy. John decides he must find out about his origins since he cannot recall his past either. For him, this is a quest to find Shell Beach, where he grew up. The entire city is a circular spiral, it turns out, and Murdoch discovers Shell Beach did not exist, and that Dr. Schreiber had been aiding the strangers in implanting fake memories in people. Rather than interpreting this as some form of Illuminati MK Ultra mind control programming, which most conspiracy writers would do, and I believe in that as well, what makes more sense is a Kabbalistic or Platonic notion of metempsychosis or transmigration of souls, wherein we must remember the state of deity from which we have come. Yeah, that does make sense. Ooh, that's a conundrum. That's a paradox. But it fits in both. It's in both paradigms, though. Because there is a trip seat. And they are being tortured, and it's against their will. Sorry, guys, I'm doing like this transmitigation, and the soul thing does make sense. I'll come back to that. I got to think about that's deep. Murdoch, Dr. Schreiber tells him he has evolved into the point where he can tune reality at will. The reality which they exist is like the Matrix and is a giant machine that can be manipulated by telekinetic will. Similarities with the Matrix trilogy will be apparent here. The strangers are, again, aliens that inhabit the bodies of dead humans and hate light and water. What can't get wet, humans? Clones. So what we have here is pure agnosticism. The lesser creator demiurges keep men trapped in darkness and deny them their God powers, like we've been all under since the dawn of time. While they rule with an iron fist and entrap men in a dream world, hiding from them their real origin, which is that they are destined to evolve into God. They obey. As co-analyst Peter Parker noted in his assessment of 2001: A Space Odyssey, we see roughly the same formula he lays out at work here. Primitive man makes evolutionary leaps by virtue of his imagination. Initially, man cannot distinguish between himself and other nature. Throughout his imagination, man creates subject-object boundaries. Man projects his own personhood on the exterior world, creating God. This projection at first helps unify society, but then metastasizes into a psychological prison. Man recognizes God to be merely his projection and re-ingests the projection into himself, realizing that he himself was God all along, thereby moving to the next stage in evolution. In some cases, this marks a break with the subject-object distinction, destroying the notion of ego itself, allowing men to integrate into the pantheistic all-in-one. This dialectical evolutionary process is often symbolically represented with the union of male and female parts. Why am I so excited? Because we're living that right now. Why am I reading all the Gnostic books and esoteric books and occulty-like books? Why? Because this is exactly what our reality is. Seriously. Everything I just read, and again, this is like the recipe in a lot of movies. They, again, have to tell you what reality is. You just got to pluck out the fiction and the nonfiction out of these movies. Again, also out of the books. It's a paradigm fuck. Like, it's paradoxical. It's bananas. Quite bananas. Sorry, guys, I'm getting very passionate here. John Murdoch, like everyone else, is trapped in the base material world created by the strangers. He makes an evolutionary leap, and by his power of telekinesis located in his third eye, or imagination, he tunes reality to fit his inner psyche, thus matching the inner and outer worlds. He projects himself out onto the world, creating God, or in this case, himself as God. And in this situation, he frees men from the psychological prison created by the strangers. Like with Star Child in 2001, John Murdoch destroys his ego when he is imprinted with the false memories he was originally given. But this time, Dr. Schreiber has inserted himself into the memories to tell John that he is a god. Again, a lowercase g, O-D. John becomes then the macro prosopus, I don't know if I'm saying that right, being formerly the micro prosperous archetype that breaks the stranger's mold. As we all should start be realizing that right now, it is interesting that Murdoch really gets the answers to the illusion of his reality when he wanders into an old theme park attraction titled Neptune's Kingdom. Neptune Poseidon, of course, is the god of the waters, and the strangers hate the water. Neptune is also the planet of the mystic in Holst's famed symphonic piece. So Murdoch's quest has been one that is ultimately solved by mysticism. Not all mysticism is bad, but you can bet when mysticism is found in a movie, there's a perchance of gnosis. Perhaps the meaning, since Neptune is the furthest planet from the sun, is that John mystically returns to the meaning of the symbolism of the gods of to find freedom from the matter-connected, controlling demiurges, the strangers. Proyas should be noted, also directed The Crow and The Knowing, which Peter Parker has ably analyzed. The theme of the knowing you will see is very similar to the themes found in Dark City, a world controlled by alien demon-like entities, a mysterious code and set of symbols that must be deconstructed to decipher that reality as we know is an illusion, and the apocalyptic end of the world. Here we are repeating history and in not where maybe this is, I mean, this is to me a movie. The film also makes reference to Fritz Lang's Metropolis, but I'll save that for its own analysis. Dark City is an interesting film and is worth watching, but unfortunately the overall message is what we see recycled so often. Gnostic myth wherein man recovers the supposed truth that he is God, but man isn't God. No, we're not the all-encompassing, the all. We are fractalizations of the all. That's what we are. We are creators in our own right. So I'm going to, again, show some of the pictures. Just to go over some of them. Ow. Sorry, guys. I'm like a freaking mess. I've been moving furniture and my back is killing me. So again, we have this, the archonic demonic, pinhead Cenobite looking deities, demiurges, who all have like Mr. Hand, Mr. Book kind of names. Interesting. And this is the doctor who is imprinting on what we can consider the chair, the trip seat, the Montauk chair. Even though I know that's not what the Montauk chair looks like. And again, the gridded out, weary darkness that is the all-encompassing city. And again, this is John Murdoch, and here we go, Neo. They break out of the Matrix. So this is, I mean, hi, can we not get any more Leonardo da Vinci? Okay, with that stance. I don't want to be rude, but I would love to quote Pinhead right now so bad. Sorry, I had to. So again, it's the clock, it's the cycles, it's the time is of an illusion. And again, the illusionary thing, it's in the law of one. Ross states this is an illusion. Everything is illusionary. This is just an illusion. Although we are consciously aware that of our reality and what we are here. The paradoxical state, the dark city. So in this scene, the clock strike 12 and everybody just fell out. And you see scenes all over the city. And again, this is very Edward Hopper. Now I'm talking like I am back in college. Edward Hopper-esque viewscapes and compositions. With very dim lighting, very romantic, noir-esque. This one is gonna trip people out. The automats, they used to have these, where the food would come out of the window, and you would pay in these little slots. Again, that's like the noir aspect. Yeah. So again, we have like this reminds me of like the Wizard of Oz or the guy behind the curtain or Alice. For those of you who know the AI, if they're a hive mind, something outside of this paradigm is controlling all of them. Archons, AI, Enkienlo, Marduk, who knows? It's humanoid-esque looking. The demiurge, the representation, Yaldabaoth. I mean, it could be a whole source of anything. But again, it's freaky how you could see some of this in like the rappers' music videos. You could see images like this and a lot of other things. And here we have seeing it again. Was that all? Oh, no. Oh, I the beach scene I couldn't get, but here's the shell poster, the fraudulent pinup chick in the Shell Beach. So, yeah, there's a. I mean, this is the thing with pictures. Not all of them can transfer and be put into slides. But I wanted to go over this movie because as you see my excitement of it all, it's really explaining our world. There is an underground behind us and underneath us, and there is people who are controlling us. And a lot of us are not into the social experiment, especially people in New York. People who are aware and awake in major cities are seeing this paradigm unfold in front of them right now. I'm in it. I've been in it. I've been trying to wake people up. And unfortunately, because of the timelines being shifted back, when I was telling people to stock up on food, now it should be the time to stock up on food. But 2 years ago, people like look at me like I'm freaking crazy. But then a lot of people understand that I have abilities and I knew I was seeing things and picking up on things in the ether that are now happening and transpiring. But no one's going to remember what I said 2 years ago unless they think I'm freaking crazy and they remember. It's this movie like blew me away. It's one of my favorite movies. I watch it a lot because there's a lot to take into consideration when you're watching movies and you're applying your current reality into it. It freaking blows your mind. Like the Matrix. Some people have those abilities, they just don't show it because they will be taken away. But people can bend metal. People have the ability to change or morph time, space. I had a little glimpse of that yesterday cleaning out my mother's room. There are people who disappear out of this whole freaking paradigm. They go through a portal. You see some of those pictures that, 3 o'clock in the morning, you're not sleeping and you scroll through Facebook or Instagram and then all of a sudden, oh, people who, pictures that don't look, people are offset. And there's some guy with a cell phone back in the 20s. Time traveling is real. I mean, they have Looking Glass as well. I mean, the yellow book. What is the yellow book? The description of the yellow book that was given. It looks like a device that unfolds, and it's telegraphic, holographic. I mean, there's just so much. And we haven't been told, like the mass public haven't been told. People who pick up on this stuff won't have this big smack on the face wake up call. But I mean, we all woke up and we all had that smack at some point. And even people now that are waking up, like, watch these movies again and watch it in the time of now. What are you noticing? Yeah, sure, the Anunnaki came down. It could be the Archons. It could have been anything. It's a controlled simulation that we live in. It's controlled. And now we are on a quest to do exactly everything that was mentioned above, to understand that we are fractalizations of God, that we create. And that with the power of our mind, when we get our DNA inserted back into us, that we'll be able to start manifesting at will. And that we can all together as a social memory complex bring new planes of existence into reality and shape and form it as a collective, not just one person controlling the aspects of it. It's everybody coming together and doing it together. That's going to be in some time from now, but he's just sitting there going, "Voof, voof, 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 voof." And shit's happening, and you can see the buildings are changing, people are morphing. Look up soul scalping. What do they do to the human souls? Possession. It's all the same shit. It's different wording and different techniques, but at the end of the day, it's still similar shit. And then again, the idea that we've been imprinted with memories, but we have our memories, they're in our DNA. And how can that be? Because I got two different parents. It's all in them. Which they're trying to poison you. Trust me, again, the teeth and my body condition is, they don't want me to remember. They don't want you to remember who you are and where you came from. Sorry, I breached your little design. Oopsie. But guys, all of us have those abilities. You just really have to go and do the inner work to get there. And it's not easy. I'm still sitting here trying to manifest some abundance so that I can just pay my bills. I can get a job. I can get some help. I can be around people that are like-minded to me, that I don't have to sit in isolation trying to have conversations with people that are like, don't get it. And not to say that I won't talk to people, I do, but if I really want an intense relationship with a friend, like, they all look at me like I'm fucking crazy. And at this stage of my life, I found people who I could talk to, and it's like a beautiful fresh breath of air. That they're blowing my mind, I'm blowing their mind, and it's a give and take of beautiful energy. But there are more of us that have to come out and be able to do that. And again, we're all individualized and we all have different abilities, and we all come from different star systems, and and even if you didn't, you came from Earth, it doesn't matter, you're still special. We're all living the human experience on a third dimensional holographic simulation that they're telling you now go watch this movie. Because there's so much more. It's crazy. Go watch the movie. It's Dark City, 1998. I was 15 years old when this came out. I'm youngin'. But I even knew back then it was one of my favorite movies, and I kept watching it and watching it over and over. I was fascinated by it. And again, back then I had abilities and I knew what was going on, but like now that I am living it and realizing that I am living it, it's mind-blowing. You all are living this too. No, do we have a dark paradigm in a dark city? No, but like take the darkness and the light. And we're all trying to achieve this light. But is it false light or is it real light? I don't know. Is the sun a simulator? It most likely is. People are now photographing two suns. There's a lot of things that we all need to start honing in on and tuning into. A lot of psychic mediums talk about tuning into the energy in this space. We all need to start doing very similar things on a conscious level. And get out of this program, get out of this program. And again, he's not out of the program. He just was able to learn how to manipulate the program to benefit everybody. And that's exactly what we all need to start doing. How do we're not going to escape this matrix in a physical form, but we can manipulate it for the good of humanity. So let's start doing that. We need to do that now. We need to start bringing in again, the timelines have been continuously shifting back and forth, 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 back and forth. That's a big problem. Everything should have already have happened, and especially in two of the timelines that I was told about that concern myself. That's a problem. We should have already been there. And not to say that, things aren't on time. Things are going to happen when they're going to happen because it's divine timing. But if the timelines change, divine timing does change as well. That's a very big problem, because the more you delay a timeline, the more warped it gets. The more you bend space and time, the more warped it gets. So how can we all, with our free will, manipulate it for the greater good? The precipice has been reached on many different scales, on many different levels and planes of existence. We live in a multiverse. We're affected heavily here, but other dimensions are heavily affecting and being affected right now. Who knows to what extent? But, people who are in utter desperation, it's not because you're feeding the negative paradigm, is because there's no outside help. And even if you can go inside, like I was discussing this yesterday, like I have blocks because of my situation. It's like I'm putting out the energy, I'm putting out forth all the positivity that I could possibly can. I'm sitting in meditation, I'm thinking, I'm putting on good music, I'm trying to manifest a new reality, I'm trying to dream it, I'm trying to materialize it. But if the timelines keep changing and they keep changing the game, and they're trying to, hold us back and continuing to push us back, the timelines that were given in April and May never took place. or they took place behind the scenes, but that's not helping the whole mass. And I get it. You can't tell everybody, but you know what? At some point, when everything keeps being compounded, it shifts time. So we really do need to start really every day consciously thinking about humanity and how we want to prosper together. Not your paradigm. Oh, what am I going to do with my crypto? And what am I going to do about my retirement? What am I going to do about things that are in the future that is not affecting you right now? So let's start in the present moment. You thinking about the very far off distant future, guess what? My father planned for the future and he died young. He never got to see his future. Live more in the moment and stop worrying about what's going to happen in 20 years from now. Because you ain't there and it is a far reach away. Plan for the future. It's always plan. It's fear, 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 fear. And then again, you're compounding it with greed, 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 greed. It's okay to think about it and it's okay to want to be, settled in life, but there's a lot of people who'll never have that. So how are you going to help them? This is the mindset change that we all have to start making. And these movies are making it apparent. Murdoch becomes the demiurge, but he's doing it for good. He's making and creating a universe and a space for everybody who's been asleep that don't know that this was happening to them. And he makes their lives better and habitable. And that's everybody in his paradigm, not the people in a far off country, not a person on the opposite side of the ice wall. It's the people within his vicinity and in his reality that he helped. Because a lot of people have that saying, when I win the lotto, I'll help you out, right? But then when the lotto is there, they're helping the paradigm, but they're not helping everybody in their own inocular paradigm. It's a very broad concept, but one that I hope that I can read more of without the math concepts, because I'm dyslexic and I don't get it. How to start doing things on a humanity-based level where everybody doesn't have to worry anymore. You don't have to think about it, and the greed and that whole paradigm can just dissolve. And then people can focus on doing what they were set out to do in the first place. But your memories were stolen from you, so you don't remember. And if you do remember, you're not remembering every aspect of what you need to do. And that's where a lot of us are right now. We have a feeling of what we think we know we should be doing. We don't question anymore. We get our ego out of the way. But then we have the 3D reality world that we still have to face. So Dark City, go watch. It is mind freaking blowing. It is like Truman Show and Matrix. And it's not as a popular movie, but it's really showing you the extraterrestrial hive mind control, MK Ultra, paradigmed with the paradox of like manifesting and telekinesis and moving into the future and having some kind of prosperity at the end. While there's crazy people who, like me, are sitting in a room like reading books and going fucking bananas trying to help humanity. So with that, I'm going to leave it there. I hope you guys enjoyed. There might be a part 2 to this, but I figured reading those articles and a little background of the movie you would enjoy, and seeing how animated I get. So if you like my work, please help and contribute and help me out. It would be very appreciated. Again, I can't do this for much longer unless I get like 3D physical help. I am very much alone. I don't have much of anything right now. So anything helps. I'm sending each and every one of you love and light. To all the daddies out there, happy Father's Day. I know I'll have a visitor sometime tomorrow saying hi. Otherwise, I hope all of you have a great weekend, and please be safe, be seen, and take extra precautions. Buckle up. Bye, guys.